Two Elon Musk Twitter questions. One is, there are some people who say, look, the Twitter files exposed this, and that was actually very, very important, helped us understand a lot of these things in a way that we didn't know about. There's others that say he's a free speech maximalist when he says he wants to be, but that in many other instances that he is, in his own way, suppressing either voices that he doesn't like, or there was an issue around, I think he said that the phrase cisgender was so offensive to him that if you were to use that on the platform, that unto itself would, I don't know if it would kick you off the platform, but there might be a suspension or something would happen to you. And so there's people who sort of look at this, again, maybe through a political prism, maybe through a social prism. What prism do you look at it through?
When you read the book, it doesn't come out till September. Right. The guy's mercurial. And so, yes, both of those things can be right. He truly is a free speech maximalist in some cases. And then when somebody's tracking the tail number of his jet, doing many other things, he gets his backup. He is at times contradictory. I don't think he's acted on the cisgender thing, but there have been many other things where he puts his thumb on the scale sometimes on Twitter. And here's the big thing, is Meta comes along and tries to do a Twitter competitor.
Well, that's where I want to go next, yes.
Okay, well, let's go there, which is Musk told me many times that the goal he had at Twitter was to have a place where all sides of the political spectrum could be there discussing and combating. And he said it was really bad in social media, cable news media, talk radio, that people went to their own echo chambers, that the left went here and the right went there. Didn't want that to happen on social media. I think one danger is by doing some of the things you talked about, he puts his thumb on the scale to help people who on the right who feel they've been censored or suppressed on Twitter, which is good, but he puts it so hard on the scale and is so dismissive, like cisgender type tweets, that he may help balkanize social media, which I know he doesn't want. Balkanize it so that the left and the right go to different social media places.
Where are you on what Facebook is doing in terms of this Twitter, you can call it competitor, some people call it, he would call it a copycat.
Yeah, it's a competitor. This is the way it should be. You should have multiple offerings. I guess my hope would be that it would cause Twitter, which has upped its game in some areas, you know, allowing video, allowing spaces, all working well, has some problems keeping the servers running at all times, but actually the engineering is doing pretty well. Maybe what Musk has done, which I don't particularly love, but he does, is make Twitter a more contentious place. You don't just lose people on the progressive left. You lose those reasonable people like you and me in the middle sometimes. And I don't know if Meta is going to be able to pick them up. And I think it's a danger in some ways that we'll just have so many fractured social media outlets.
But then it goes to the idea of and this is where Elon and I are 100% in agreement on the following. I think actually only one of these things can exist that will really work as a town square. If you have
a network effect makes it
the network effect makes it work. That if Facebook is successful, the question is, it would have to be super successful because you basically have to rip everybody off of Twitter, everybody off of Truth Social, everybody off of all these things to be in one place to work.
Yeah, I think we're going to see how that plays out. The network effect means that if you're like birds flocking to a telephone wire, you want to be where everybody else is, tweeting. I think that he's now going to be pressured, and so is Linda Yaccarino, to say, okay, let's make sure this is a comfortable place so people don't fly to the other wire.
So we've got Elon Musk involved in so many businesses, running them, got his finger on the pulse of so many. How is he dividing his time? You've spent time with him. How much time is he spending on Twitter?
It's totally amazing because I have spent hours and hours per day with him, and he can serially focus. Even the moment where his Twitter bid is accepted, he's down in Boca Chica, Texas, where they launched Starship, the rocket, looking at the Raptor engines and doing a 2-hour meeting on how to simplify the sort of heat shields underneath those 33 Raptors on it. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, you just got Twitter. How can your mind not be jumping around? But it's that focus, and he's just starting an AI company now, XAI, because he's worried about what OpenAI and what DeepMind Google are doing. So he's running them all.
If you're a Tesla shareholder, you're not worried about the time that he's spending on Twitter and
I think I would definitely have been worried.
XAI.
I do think it's good that Linda Yaccarino is now focusing on a lot of the, not all, a lot of the aspects of Twitter. But the rocket ships keep going up. They keep getting to orbit. Tesla just set a record on quarterly sales. So every time I get worried, I think, well, maybe I was wrong.
Before we let you go, when we came back from commercial, Courtney read a headline about what's happening with China, the Biden administration, and cloud computing. It seems to be the next step in what we're doing around talking about AI and what kind of chips we're allowing them to have. How far do you think this goes? Do you think it changes?
Well, I think we've gone a little bit too far in getting adversarial to China. We have to be very specific of what we care about, and that's national security things. So on some of the chips, some of the technology, you definitely don't want those to be exported. Right. You have to find that germanium and other raw materials China's not going to give to us. But I think what you're seeing Secretary Blinken and others doing is cooling down the rhetoric, going there, Secretary Yellen going there. And I do hope that we don't try to decouple our economy from China or confront China. We have to learn how to treat them as adversaries, in some cases partners in others. And one of the things that happened on Blinken's trip to China is he brought up AI as a possible area where there should be joint cooperation. And the Chinese leaped at that. They said, yes, let's work on that. And all the way from Kissinger to the president on diplomacy, you'll always find certain tracks that you want to talk about.